Hi kids. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the integers on the coordinate plane. I'm going to follow along in the book, and so what you'll want to do is open up in your book to topic 8.1, pages 210 to 211. So why don't you pause the video and take your book out and open up the topic 8.1, pages 210 to 211 right now. Okay? Because it'll be easier for you to follow along in your book versus following along on the black and white copies we have up here. Okay? Alrighty. Now that you have your book out, you'll see that on page 210, they talk about integers on the coordinate plane. And it asks you, how can you find or how can you graph a point on the coordinate plane? Well, there's two key words here, and that is graph. And so when you locate points on the coordinate plane, you're actually graphing, and we are talking about a coordinate plane. Something that you want to keep in mind, most of us are familiar with the coordinate plane, okay, and we understand that it is made up of two number lines and that you have four quadrants. So you know, we have a general idea, but what most kids don't realize is that because it's number lines, it actually goes on and on in every direction infinitely. Because number lines go on in every direction infinitely. Okay? So anyways, here is the book definition of what a coordinate plane is. A coordinate plane is a grid containing two number lines that intersect in a right angle at 0. This 0 right here is where the two number lines intersect. The number lines called the x-axis is the horizontal one, and the y-axis, which is the vertical one, divide the plane into four quadrants. Okay, they use Roman numerals to name the quadrants, and the quadrants are Quadrant 1, Quadrant 2, Quadrant 3, and Quadrant 4. Knowing where the quadrants are and what the signs are, positive or negative, will help a whole lot. Now when you look at the coordinate plane, you notice that you have 0, which is the origin, and the numbers to the right on the x-axis are all positive. The numbers to the left are all negative. Remember that you can have in-between amounts as well. So, you know, this is one whole unit, two whole units. This is one whole unit, two whole units. And what applies to integers also applies to the integers on the coordinate plane. So there's an opposite for positive 2, it's negative 2. And then when you have the y-axis, it goes up and down, and you have the origin, which is 0 right here, and anything above is going to be positive, and anything below is going to be negative. Okay, so that's generally the coordinate plane, and just remember there are four quadrants, 1, 2, 3, 4. They meet, or they have number lines that meet at the origin, which is 0. And when you are finding points on the coordinate plane, it is called graphing. Alright, so let's take a look at some more information related to the coordinate plane. In your book, on page 211, you'll see where it talks about an ordered pair. An ordered pair, x, y, of the numbers gives the coordinates that locate a point relative to each axis. Graph the points Q, which are at positive 2, negative 3, R, which is at negative 1, positive 1, and S, which is at 0, 2, on a coordinate plane. Then they give you some instructions. So what we have here are ordered pairs, okay, and in an ordered pair, so for example, an ordered pair starts with parentheses. They give you the x-axis number first, where you would travel on x, and then they give you the y number, where you would travel on y. So your pattern is to go left, or right based on the x-axis, and then up or down based on the y-axis. Okay? So they give us some points to locate. The first one they want is for us to locate point Q, and it is at the ordered pair of 2, -3. Okay? Here are the steps for locating. To graph any point with the coordinates x, y, start at the origin, 0, 0. So we would start right here at the origin. Use the x-coordinates to move right, if positive, or left, if negative, along the x-axis. So we have point Q will be located at a +2, so we're going to come over +2, and then use the y-coordinate of the point to move up if positive or down if negative, following the y-axis. Draw a point on the coordinate grid and label the point. So we've determined that Q is going to be on +2 on the x-axis. Then it comes down to -3, which is right here, and that is point Q. Alright? Then the next one they want us to locate is point R. So if we look at point R, R is at the coordinates of -1, +1, so we want to jump on there and do that. So we start at the origin, and we're going to see it starts with a -1, so we're going to come left, over, and you can see this in your book clearly, and then up a +1, so we have point R right there. Then they want us to identify S. Well, S is kind of neat because S is located at the ordered pair of 0, 2. Okay? And so what we do is we see that 0 is actually our x value, which puts it right at the origin. So we're not going to go right, we're not going to go left. We're just going to stay at 0 and go either up or down based on the second number, which is a +2. So we stay on 0 and we go up to +2. So S is right there. Okay? And that's how you read the coordinate plane. Just remember that your first number tells you left or right, and your second number tells you up or down from the origin. Alright? Let's practice a few of these right now. Okay? Let's take a look at this coordinate plane in your book on page 210. See if you can find these points. Pause the video. Pause the video and see if you can find what are the coordinates for the following points. So in other words, find these points on your coordinate plane and then write down the coordinates for them. Pause the video now. Okay, here we go. Let's go through these and see how you did. Okay, the first one that we want to look at is Q. So we want to find Q. Q is right here. So what we're going to say is Q is over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units to the right. So it's a +5. And then it comes down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's then -5. So Q is located at the coordinates of +5, -5. And it is in quadrant 4. Okay? H, when we look for H, here's point H right here. And we would have to come to the left from the origin, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so our first coordinate for H would be a -4. And then we come down 1, 2, 3, 4. And so we'd have another -4. And so the coordinates for H are -4, -4. And so when you see this, you have a negative and negative. That puts you in quadrant 3. which is kind of neat because you can look at the coordinates and figure out what quadrant you are in. Okay? K is next. When we look at K, you'll notice that K is right on the x-axis. So when we look at K, we're going to first of all find out how far over we need to go. So we're going to come 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the first number is a -8 because we're traveling left. Then it doesn't go up or down on the y-axis, so we're going to give it a 0. Alright, it is in neither quadrant. It is falling on the x coordinate, or the x-axis. When you look at J, J is the same situation, except for it's reversed. You start on the origin, and you see that you don't go either right or left, so you put a 0 there for your first ordinate. Then you go up 1, 2, and it's a +2. So J is in neither quadrant. It falls right on the y-axis. R is our final point to locate. R is right here, so we would go over 1, which is a +1, and notice I don't put the positive symbol, and then up a +1. So it is at the coordinates of 1, 1. It's positive, positive, so that puts us in quadrant 1. Okay, so anyways, that's how we would establish those points, all right, by locating them left and right, up and down. Let's try some other ones, okay? Let's look in our book and see if you can complete 4 and 5. Pause the video and see if you can answer those 2 questions. Alright, here we go. Number 4, they're asking you, in which quadrant does a point lie if its x and y coordinates are negative? So we're talking about, for this question right here, number 4, we're talking a point which would be a negative, negative. Well, if you find a negative, negative, that means that you are going to go to the left, and then you're going to go down, which puts you in quadrant 3. So the answer for number 4 is quadrant 3. Okay? For question number 5, it's a communicating question. How are the points 4, 5, and -5 related? Well, if we were to find point 4, 5, we would come over 4 and up to 5, and it would be right here. Then if we were to find point -4, 5, we would come over to -4 up to 5, and it would be right here. And if you look at these, it's almost as if you've reflected across the line. And so the answer to number 5, okay, they are both 5 units above the x-axis and 4 units away from the y-axis. So when you answer question 5, you can see that you have 2 points that are both 5 units up, but they are on opposite sides of the y-axis. Okay? Alright, let's take a look at some other questions that will help you with the coordinate plane. Let's look on page 211 for these questions. Okay? In your book, they give you a map, and they want you to answer questions 20, 21, and 22. For 20 through 22, use the map of the town of Descartes at the right. The market square is at the origin. So here's the origin right here, and this is the marketplace. And then you have your buildings, which are designated by a red dot on your map, which are kind of hard to see on the video here, but in your book you'll see that the red dots are quite clear. So why don't you pause the video and see if you can find the answers to these questions. So go ahead and pause the video and give these a try. Okay, here we go. Number 20 says, give the coordinates of the library. Well, the library is down here. And here's our little dot here that tells us where it's at. It's right here. And so we would come over to 10 and then come down to the dot and read over, and it's -9. So the answer to number 20, library is at +10, -9. So in other words, to get to the library dot, you would go from the market square over to +10 down to -9. Number 21, what building is located in quadrant 3? Well, in this case, we know that this is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3. The only building in quadrant 3, of course, is the firehouse. So the answer to 21 is the firehouse. And then our last question, writing to explain. If you were at the market square, and you wanted to get to the doctor's office, according to the map, how would you get there? Well, the doctor's office is right here, and so what we'd want to do is we'd want to ask ourselves, where's the dot? And the dot is right here on the map, okay? So what we would do is we would go over 1, 2, 3, down to our point where the doctor's office is located. And then if we go down, we'll see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -5. So the answer to 22, if you explained it in words, the doctor's office, to the doctor's office, you would go right 3 units and down 5. That means you would go to the coordinates of +3, -5. Okay? So there you go. Hopefully this helped explain to you what the coordinate plane is and how it works. You can get further information from the videos online.